Hey everybody, what's up? I've got a number of different invasions today across a number of characters. It's kind of a grab bag of different invasions that I thought were interesting for one reason or another. Starting off, obviously here I'm in Farron Keep, and this is something I've started doing. I've started using moss fruit kind of at the beginning of these invasions when I'm in the poison swamp water, just because that way I don't have to use as many of the purple moss clumps. It's time saving because I don't want to pop up on their radar. And so cut out quite a bit here. I was hunting for them and I see some mages here in the distance, and then I see there's another red. So at this point it looks like the red's about to die, so I'm just going to barrel in there and try to take aggro off of him so he can go back and heal. And I see, unfortunately, he's a pyro, so I can't really do much around him. And here I'm using something I've added to my repertoire, which is Magic Barrier. I wasn't getting a whole lot of use out of my second Miracle slot anyway, and I threw this on there, and it's surprisingly useful because ganks that like to use mages, it really cuts down on the damage. I mean, look at that. I just got hit, and it barely did any damage to me at all. So don't use this miracle a whole lot, but when you can, it's really useful. And here I'm kind of trying to flank these guys so that the other invader and I aren't fighting them at the same time. And right away I can see a lot of these guys are engaging in kind of bad habits. But I can't really punish any of it yet because I got too many of them on top of me. Surprisingly, none of these guys were over leveled either, so they must be they're probably playing the game through together with the dried fingers to make it interesting, I suppose. So there I'm able to get rid of the first Phantom, and so now I feel really good about our chances. So now I'm going to take the host. The other red just has to take on the other Sunbro, and we should be able to close this thing out quickly. Those lag spikes are so terrifying. You never know what's going to happen to you on the other end of them. And I've noticed this guy likes to do standing R1s out of his running R1s. I went for the parry there, but I wasn't quite quick enough about it. And unfortunately, the other red died. And I've been working on these unlocked roll backstabs quite a bit lately. And I'm still not really good at them, but I've gotten a lot better, and I've actually gotten quite a few lately. So there again, the running R1 into standing R1, and I'm able to punish it, but I don't quite have enough there to take him out. That dude with that greatsword is doing an awful lot of damage. At this point, I'm even willing to just let this guy hit me with his running R1. Like, I'm not even going to try to avoid it as long as I'm in a good position to parry the follow-on standing R1. Like there, I just deliberately ate that standing or that running R1 because I knew I'd be able to get the parry afterward. GG. So the other day I was invading in the cathedral, and there were a number of really nasty gank squads there. There were one or two in particular that had skilled players with them. And I know I've been talking a lot about this, but man, there are so many skilled blues at this soul level. I think I would actually increase my previous estimate of 1/3 being skilled to almost half. I mean, I just more and more I'm seeing this. In fact, I invaded a solo host the other day. He had Way of Blue on, and he got two blues that were both very, very good. They're obviously invaders. They were probably working on a new build, and they just decimated me. You know, when they know all the tricks, all the turn and burns, and how to avoid being parried, and you got to worry about them parrying you, it's just really, really tough. The whole balance of invasions in this game is so interesting because these games need to be balanced or some approximation thereof across a wide variety of circumstances and weapons and situations. You could have a situation where you as an invader invade 3 or 4 people at once. You could have a situation where you invade a lone host who's at the end of a level and is out of Estus. And there's really no way to balance for all those situations. And so, people are able to kind of take advantage of it, like these gank squads, and tilt the field completely in their favor. But it's a really interesting problem. And how do you possibly solve that? And I really don't think you can. Unfortunately, I was able to take that other Phantom out because that other one was going to try and come up behind me, which was pretty smart. I wasn't looking for that. I had invaded these guys a couple of other times, and these guys were a definite true gang squad. Like, they were not trying to beat the level. I found them in all different kinds of places in the level. They're obviously just, starting back at the beginning and running through it, and killing all the invaders that showed up. The other frustrating thing was in the evening that I was doing this, the cathedral was so busy. I was getting instant invasions, but it also meant that when I would get in like a 4v1 or any situation with the dried fingers, I wasn't getting backup. I'd be all by myself. And obviously a 4v2 or a 4v1 where an invader comes in and helps you is so much easier. I mean, I'd say almost easier than like a 2v1. So I've gotten rid of everyone now but the host, and they're doing that thing where they put the untrue white ring on in hopes to fool you as to which one is the host. It never really affects me anyway because my strategy is such that I'm typically going to try and eliminate all the phantoms first. I suppose if I happen to get lucky and I've got the host kind of down on nubs, then maybe I might try and pursue him a little bit harder than I would one of the other phantoms. But not really. It's not usually part of my strat. Although maybe it should be. I don't know. So next up, we've got another squad that I invaded a few times. And it's funny because that Dark Souls guy and I were talking the other day about how ganking teaches you such bad habits in PvP. Because strats that would not be viable at all for an invader or in one-on-ones become really viable and very strong in groups. I know I referenced one such strat in my previous video, which is parry spamming. So if you're part of a crew and you're chasing down an invader, you can kind of get in his face and just spam parry, because all the counters for that involve like running around and backstabbing them, and you just don't have the time or the space to really do that usually. So you just kind of have to punish them, or avoid the parries rather. There is no easy punish against that. Similarly is R1 spamming. And I think gankers eventually learn like when it's effective and when it isn't. Rolling attacks, all those kinds of attacks when you're in a squad of 4, which these guys were earlier. There was another invader there that had killed at least one of them. Those tactics are super viable, just not when it's like a 1-on-1 or a 2-on-1. So I included this invasion. It was kind of cool. I ran down here and I heard somebody yell, "Hey!" So I turned around. And I'm obviously a little wary because I'm expecting to get ganked. But it's a host and a phantom. They're actually they seem happy to see me, and I see what appears to be the host just kind of chilling in the back. And this guy wants to have a duel. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to the mace because I see that shield. I'm going to switch over to the Night Slayer ring. And have ourselves a little bit of a duel. Now he's over leveled, which obviously works against me, but especially like in a 1-on-1 with a weapon like that, I'm not too concerned about it. There's that delicious guard break that I was looking for. Mace does a lot of stamina damage. Night Slayer's ring on top of it, plus that guy just burnt all of his stamina with that whole weapon art. At this point, I'm expecting to get ganked, or for this phantom to go ahead and heal up, but he doesn't. So he gets a bow, and then I see the host go running off, and I assume he's running off because he's scared. He's afraid that I'm going to kill him, which actually makes me respect the guy all that more, because if he's actually that afraid of me killing him, and yet he was still willing to kind of sit there while I beat on his friend, even though I don't think obviously you're under any obligation to do that, still speaks well of the guy. And he does something quizzical. He runs up here and then turns around and comes back down. And and I'm not going to beat on the guy, especially because of what he did. I thought it was still very kind-hearted, even though it wasn't really necessary. So I'm just going to kind of chill here, and hopefully he can take care of these Grave Wardens. Nope. They kill him. He actually sent me a really nice message after this. He had a whole boatload of souls. He had just started playing the game, and he wanted to go get his souls. And so I'm really glad I didn't kill him. So that made me feel really good. I was glad I didn't tear into him. So I see a guy in here. He's all by himself. I give him a wave, I look, and I see he's got the Thrall hat on. So immediately I'm thinking it's a gank, it's an ambush, it's a troll of some kind. So my radar's up. I'm being real careful around the doorways. I'm looking around, and I'm still not really sure what this guy was trying to do exactly. I don't know if I'm supposed to like come up and try to swing and get parried, or what it is, like what he was trying to do. If I see that Cestus, I know he wants a parry. So now I'm just putting him under a shit ton of pressure, and I'm not sure how that wasn't a roll catch. So I decided to mess with him just a little bit here and put on my own little troll hat. It's been a little silly. That was funny. So I invade this guy, and I see him. He's in there by himself, and I see him kind of doing a bunch of flips, practicing with the kick animation on the Sellsword twin blades. I give the guy just a little bit of credit here. He seems to have like the kick animation pretty well down. But he's summoning a Phantom, so I'm kind of trying to do what damage I can here, but I'm being kind of cautious because he seems to know what he's doing and have the spacing here. And I screw up. I didn't realize how close that white Phantom was when he spawned in. And so now I've got two guys with very aggressive playstyles, and that's the way you should play with that weapon. I mean, that's what the sellswords are built for, is heavy aggression. And I was really lucky to get that heal off there. I think they were probably out of stamina, or they would have cut me down. So now I'm just going to try to not heal, which makes me look even weaker, and that'll give people an incentive to kind of chase after you and kind of draw them out here towards the mobs, and they're taking the bait. And the complexion of this fight is about to change substantially. So I hit him with a quick turn and burn, and now we've got a couple of the maggot monsters in on the action. And they don't do a ton of damage, but that bleed starts building up, and that adds a lot of pressure. Now this guy can't roll out. Goodbye. And the fact that both these guys have sellswords, I don't think is a coincidence. I think this was probably a bait all along. I would not be surprised if this guy had the dried fingers active. I know that attack's coming, so I space it out with the R2. There's the bleed. And I decide to hit him with the welcome gesture. I don't use that very often, but it felt appropriate there. This guy here is my soul level 57 Dex build, and I decided to throw on that hat almost as a kind of tribute to Skitter, because I know that's part of his fashion when he's using the Murakumo. So nowadays, especially if I've got a weapon like the Murakumo, I will fight a 2v1 pretty much straight up. Like, I won't use mobs unless the players are really good. So you can see these guys are not very aggressive, but as soon as they hit me with the Undead Hunter charm, all of a sudden the aggression comes out. It's that whole thing again about appearing weak. When a host and his crew think you're weak, they're going to come charging in, and you can use that to your advantage to kind of manipulate them. I know that Dark Souls guy talks a lot about doing that. That's his whole bare fist thing. He brings out the bare fist because it makes him look really weak, and it gives the other person an incentive to fight him. Because in this game, if somebody's just trying to evade you and roll away and they're not fighting against you, it can be very difficult to actually kill them. Give this guy some credit there with the spear. There was some nice mix up there, and I wasn't expecting it. Unfortunately, his spacing's a bit bad. A weapon like the spear, you want to be sitting outside the other person's range and just hitting them with counter hits. And there it is. You see it again. As soon as I get hit with the Undead Hunter charm, these guys come both barreling in like bulls in a china shop. Break his guard. He unwisely puts his shield back down again, so I know I'm going to get the guard break again when I hit it. That is all she wrote. So this was awesome. I cut out a large part of what happened here, but I show up and obviously there's another red, so I know there's a dried finger active. In the past here, I probably would not have gone after the host very hard with just a lone host and another red, but I've learned over time that this situation doesn't happen by accident. Most likely what happened is there was a whole squad here, and they had the dried fingers running, and this other red put them all down. Watch what happens here. Double riposte. And even though the animation doesn't show it, when I slam down with the Hornet Ring, I get the extra damage on my criticals, so we basically one-shot the guy. I'd never seen that happen before. I was pretty excited about that. This is the last invasion. This was kind of funny. This was another gank squad that I had run into, and I had invaded a couple times, and they had mowed me down. A couple of the squads here, they kill all the enemies in the level. There's really nowhere to go, nowhere to hide, and it's really tough. So I was hoping to catch this blue because I'd been looking for the whole crew for about 3 or 4 minutes, but they were all back here. So now I realize I'm screwed if I stay back here, and I gotta get out of here and just run away. So basically, I spend the next 4 minutes just running around praying for another invader to show up. And right about here, I get my answer. And look who shows up. Freaking Wayland. Wayland, who came to the rescue in Goof's video the other day, and was able to get the griefer off of the ladder button. Here he shows up, and I can see he's already doing work. He's already cut down the blue. So now I'm just kind of hoping to keep these two guys occupied so Wayland can kill Sorig. The host there wasn't expecting me to swing multiple times because, of course, again, when you're a ganker, you don't have time to swing multiple times, and so they just get used to invaders swinging a couple times. So now Wayland's killed a second person, so out of the 4-man squad, Wayland's already killed 2 of them, and I haven't killed anyone yet. Just as I come around the corner here, I hear the parry go off, and it's Wayland putting the host down. I was so pumped. These guys had killed me like 2 or 3 times, pointed down in unison at me every time they did it, so it felt good to give them a dose of their own medicine. Thanks for checking in, guys. Take care now.